In this week's episode, we'll travel to the extreme northeastern corner of Oklahoma, where we'll meet an entire tribe of land doctors. Here we'll meet the Quapaw Tribe, who are working hard to heal a century-old wound on their land.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.
Daddy, where did those come from?
Well, let me tell you.
Great Plains Kubota, your Oklahoma Kubota dealer and proud sponsor of the Land Doctors. Kubota, for Earth, for life. This program is sponsored and produced by the Land Doctors Management Group. We all know that Oklahomans belong to the land, but even the best of us need a little help from time to time. If you've got a spot of land that you love but would like to make it even better, we're here to help. Whether it's wildlife, water management, natural resources management, environmental cleanup, or even real estate development, these doctors are always on call.
I love the smell of fresh dirt in the morning. It smells like victory. I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the topwater roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa. Hi, welcome to this week's episode of the Land Doctors. I'm Kelly Hurt.
And I'm John Berry, Chairman of the Business Committee for the Quapaw Tribe, and welcome to the Quapaw Nation.
Well, John, we're here next to what looks like a huge gravel pile. Tell me about where we are and what we're seeing here.
Well, we are located right in pretty much the epicenter of what's called the Tar Creek Superfund Site. It's the residual effects of hard rock mining in the subsurface of where we're standing. For years, lead and zinc was mined here. It provided the bullets and a lot of the products for First and Second World War. But it was pretty much taken from Quapaw land, and when they were done, they left it like it is today.
And this is one of the largest Superfund sites in the United States.
On the national priority list, it's number one.
It's number
the
one.
largest, yes, sir. It's about 40 square miles.
And so the type of effects that you're seeing here even today are obviously the chat piles, as they call them. What other kinds of effects are you still seeing?
Well, there's a lot of residual effect from the mining. There's not only these chat piles, but there's associated mill ponds where they once had water. They used that in the processing of the material. And as the water evaporated, it leaves a very fine talcum powder, sort of this stuff in a finer form in these mill ponds. And those are pretty much the most hazardous sites within this hazardous site.
And what types of contaminants are in those mill ponds?
Well, there's cambium, there's lead, there's zinc, And I'm sure there's, there's a lot of other trace minerals, but those are the three bad guys.
And with those being heavy metals, they never go away. They're here until they're removed and disposed of correctly.
Yes, sir. And we have plans for that.
We also looked at a couple places where looks like there's water just springing up out of the ground that's sort of this reddish orange color.
Sure, it's sort of interesting because we're standing on top of a bunch of caverns that were man-made, dug out. It was an aquifer that was close to the surface, and it contained high levels of lead and zinc, and it wasn't very deep, so it made it economical to mine. And it was very high quality. And what they did was they pumped the water out of this aquifer and went in there and dug it out. And then because of pricing and environmental laws and all kinds of other reasons, in the 70s they turned off the pumps and left. And the water coming out is what happens in the different times of the year. The water evaporates or runs out of the mine workings, air infiltrates the mine, and then like it's been raining here lately, it gets flooded with surface water, and the hydraulic pressure squirts out all of the rust and all the nasties that are oxidized when the oxygen is introduced into the mine workings. And so what you're seeing is water that's coming at one end through rain, pushing out a bunch of nasty water that's built up with this oxidation process subsurface. So underneath us is just giant mines that go from here to Joplin, Missouri. So it makes a soup of nasty that builds up during this dry spell and then flows out in the wet periods.
So we're pretty close to Pitcher, Oklahoma. Tell me about Pitcher. What's the history of that little town?
Well, the Quapaws came from Arkansas in the 1830s. We began our migration to what this is our reservation. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, in the Joplin area, lead was becoming pretty heavily mined. And it was a little deeper than what it is here. And as the market for lead grew and the need for lead grew, the mining operations moved west onto Indian land. And Pitcher was pretty much just employees of the mining industry that came from all over the United States and the world to work in these mines, and they just set up these camps. And Pitcher just grew into sort of a little town that was basically started as a camp. And it's actually on Indian land that's owned by Indians, but the government allowed all these people, I think there was 15,000 people
15,000 people?
At one time, wow. Just right down the road here in Douthit, which was like a suburb of Pitcher.
Yeah, how many people lived in Pitcher if 15,000 lived in the suburb?
I think it was around 50,000 people at one time. It was a huge economy based on them just stripping the resources from underneath the surface and loading it up and taking it away. And it was a major operation. I mean,
well, just the sheer number of people that moved to this area, that gives you an idea of how large the mining operation was. I mean, there's basically, what do you think the population is here now?
Well, it's 7 people actually have postal addresses here. The Quapaw Tribe owns the rest, and we made it clear to the EPA and to our friend Senator Inhofe that we wouldn't allow for any more habitation of the area because our plan is to clean it up.
Yeah.
You know, we're the only crazy people that want to buy Superfund Site land. And because, look, the Quapaws are geographically bound by certain lines. It's the only place we could be Quapaws.
Now, with taking this much out of the subsurface, have you had any issues with sinkholes or anything like that?
Oh yeah, and hopefully we don't fall into the earth as we're standing here. One of the reasons, or the reason we got Pitcher is, thankfully Senator Inhofe helped us and helped the people in Pitcher by providing money to the state to allow people who were in danger of subsidence to have their homes purchased so they could be relocated. That's why there's only 7 people left in Pitcher. Those were people that didn't take advantage of that buyout. And our agreement with Senator Inhofe and the EPA is that we'll provide those 7 people with water because we manage the water system and the sewer system now. But we won't allow any legacy. Once they're done, we'll just cut off the taps and stop any more service, because it really is dangerous. There's equipment that goes into holes, and the topography changes all the time. Our ultimate goal is to have a unified ownership of one piece of property, and then we want to begin and build a wetland system that really was started by Governor Keating back in his administration. But ours is a little more grand. His was small wetlands. Ours is one large wetland. Topography-wise, the worst part of the Superfund site, thankfully, is a few feet lower than the rest of the area. So we believe we could flood it 4 feet on the surface and fill the mine workings to stop that dynamic change of the hydraulics, and then get a hold of the water on top using heavy metal absorbing plant life and clean it up. And our goal is actually to use it as future potable water and drinking water, and potentially put a wastewater treatment plant, a mechanical plant, to do the final filtration before we probably just put it right back into the Spring River.
Yeah.
And that'll help not only us, it'll help eastern Oklahoma tremendously, because Grand Lake is the end, recipient of all of this bad stuff. We're mad about it, but it doesn't do us any good to get mad. We want to fix it and make the best of it.
But I tell you what is doing some good. You guys are doing some really innovative things with your greenhouses and your casino and your entire resort, the way you're managing it and the way you're approaching it. And that's what we want to go check out next, is to see, yeah, the past is not good, but to see where you're going in the future.
The future's good for us. We're Indians, and we think we have a responsibility to our children and grandchildren to leave the earth in a better way.
Nobody made you do that.
Oh no, we did it because
you wanted to.
And no one's making us do this. I mean, everybody thinks we're crazy because we go out and actively purchase land within a Superfund site.
Yeah, but it's your land.
It's our land, and it's our crazy.
Yep, awesome. Well, now I'm with Tim Kent. He is the environmental director for the Quapaw Tribe, and he's going to show us one of the sites that they've cleaned up. Tim, tell us what we've got here.
Well, what you're seeing, the exposed dirt is actually about 2 months ago was completely covered with chat. You can actually see you can still see some chat in the background. So in the 1930s, the mining companies came in, mined this area. Most of the buildings were deteriorated or pushed over by the mining companies, and the foundations were covered with chat. And once the mining stopped, this whole site was forgotten, basically, except by the tribe. But now that EPA is providing money for cleanup, the tribe insisted that the tribe themselves clean up this property because of the historic significance to the tribe. So this is basically what you're looking at, is the first tribal-led Superfund cleanup in the nation, ever.
Now, one of the things I've noticed, and you just mentioned, is that with the removal of the chat, now I can see several old structures.
Right.
One was a well house?
Yeah, the one that's down here on the end, the tall structure, that was a well house that the water that serviced probably a dozen buildings or more. All the water came from a well from that house there. So that's about the most intact structure. And then the other structures that you see that have kind of fallen in, these are buildings that served either as dormitories or for a nunnery or a church. There were, like I said, there was probably a dozen buildings in here at one time.
Are there any plans to try to do anything with the old buildings to restore them?
Yeah, the tribe's talking about maybe the tribe's powwow grounds, which incidentally, that's been a powwow grounds since the 1830s. Be able to access this area and experience it as a historic site. Wow.
Well, that's pretty amazing. It's to see, just to look at the next door property and be able to see the layer of chat that's still there, and look at this where you removed it all. You can see the old structures. it's obvious how much work's gone into this. I mean, you had to have removed an enormous amount of chat.
Yeah, I think we've moved probably over 100,000 tons. And, you know, in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to come in and seed all this. And hopefully next year, this will all be green space and it'll look nice.
Wonderful. I think we're headed to the greenhouse now. Let's go check that out. In this segment, we'll be talking to Gilbert Johnston. And Gilbert is the reason that we're even up here to begin with. And simply stated, a few weeks ago I was eating in the restaurant and I had the pleasure of eating one of your heirloom tomatoes in a salad. Yes. And so I spoke to the manager there, Duke, and he started telling me about your greenhouse operation here and all that you were doing. So tell us a little bit about what you got going here.
Well, I have 20 different varieties of herbs, and I normally try to, whatever the chefs request, I try to get that for them. So they're serving them up in the kitchens. We want our guests to have as naturally grown herbs and vegetables as they can get in the kitchens. And that's what I try to do for them, and it's been successful.
Well, the herbs that they're piling on the tomatoes and the caprese salad are killer. I don't know what I was eating, but I was loving it. I mean, we were tearing into that stuff.
They're delicious. They come out about once a week and see what herbs I have going for them. Yeah. And then they just place their orders, and the herbs that you eat when you eat in the restaurant are cut that day. Yeah. Nothing is stored in the coolers. It's all fresh herbs for the day and for the evening meals. Oregano, mint. I mean, there's 20 different varieties. When we're walking through, I'll be able to point them out.
And this is some chard.
Swiss chard. That's a jewel Swiss chard.
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful on the dinner plates and the.
That looks like, is that over there?
It's Swiss chard.
That's Swiss chard also?
All of it's Swiss chard.
Well, some of it has yellow stems and some of it's red.
That's the jewel, that the jewel color, jewel box, different colors, whites, yellows, and red.
Why don't we walk down here and look at these tomatoes?
Yes.
Okay. I like the setup that you've got. Well, these, I've never seen the zebra tomato.
The red zebra. That's completely different good taste than the others.
Can I taste one?
Yes, sir, you can.
Where is one?
The more red they are, the more ripe they are, and that's delicious, just like that right there.
Grab that one.
It's got that good, sharp tomato taste.
Yeah, I love that taste. It is. That's perfect. Ah. Look at these. These are huge.
That one is a Cherokee purple, and they are, I imagine they're at least 2 pounds.
I actually raised some at my place last year, but they didn't get nearly that big.
Yeah, these are, it's my first time of raising them in a greenhouse situation, and I just think that has to do with the size of them. Yeah. They've had a good amount of time to get that large.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
I really do. I admire what you're doing here, and I appreciate the time, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now we're going to go cook some of this stuff and eat it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that.
Well, you're going to have a treat. Yeah, it's delicious.
Well, let's get out of here.
Enjoy.
And go. All right, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Now that the produce has been grown and gathered, we turn it over to the 2 best cooks I know, my wife Christina and Chef Saul of the Downstream Resort.
Hi, my name is Christina Hurt, and this is Chef Saul, and we are here in the Downstream kitchen, and he is going to make some tomato jam.
Tomato jam, bacon wrapped meatloaf, some herb mashed potatoes with all of our wonderful produce from our garden, our nursery. Cool, let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna start off here with our heirloom tomato jam. We're gonna get our zebra tomatoes, our teardrop tomatoes. We're gonna start first is dicing them up.
And those came out of your greenhouse, right?
Yep, fresh this morning, picked every day fresh.
That is so good. Yep. They smell wonderful.
So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna dice these up. I already have some diced up right here.
All right.
So I got a saute pan heating up right here on a little medium heat. I'm gonna start off with some little bit of butter. You gotta have butter and everything.
Butter's the best.
A little bit of butter. We're gonna saute some onions. Once we get those sweated out a little bit, we'll add our tomatoes. We're also gonna add a little rice wine vinegar, sugar, and we'll reduce that down until it becomes a jam consistency. We'll let that cool down. We'll jar it up in our mason jar.
So basically, this is like fancy ketchup.
Yes, especially, yes.
That's basically
exactly
what we're doing.
it is.
We're
It's
just gonna kick up our meatloaf a little bit.
Just a little bit, you know.
To keep it from being just every mundane day.
Yeah, so next time you make meatloaf and you like tomato jam, it's
There you
pretty
go.
awesome. So we'll get that, add our tomatoes. Get those going, we're gonna add a little rice wine vinegar,
Yep.
a little bit of sugar, some nice cracked pepper. I like to see my pepper when I'm cooking.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then this will just reduce down. It'll reduce down. It'll break apart. It'll become
Yes.
a jam consistency. The sugar will thicken it up, become a syrup with the rice vinegar. Then we cool the product down. We have our product done here that I've done a few days ago. We jarred it up in our mason jars, and that is our Heirloom Tomato Jam.
Awesome.
That's gonna go on top of our bacon wrapped meatloaf. There we go. It's good
Wow.
stuff.
Can I
Yes.
try that?
Yeah.
Try a little bit of that?
There you go.
Alrighty. Oh, I love that. That was so good. That was really good.
This is a Wagyu, which is a domestic style Kobe beef.
That looks
And it
great.
has prime, our prime ribeye in there. We grind it up and we do homemade sliders and meatballs with that. So we're gonna do some bacon wrapped meatloaf. We're gonna do this.
That's awesome.
Kind of form it so it holds together.
Yes.
Got this. Fold this over.
Now you have the bacon laid out on
Parchment paper, yes. Just
How easy is
shingle
that?
it. Yeah, shingle it, just roll it over.
Yeah.
Got that going. Oops, it broke, but that's fine.
It'll be all right.
And there we
Look
go.
at that.
Got a nice cocoon of prime beef in a bacon cocoon.
Yes.
There you go. Bacon just makes everything better.
It
After
does.
this, you're gonna want to wrap it in foil.
Okay.
Wrap it up in foil, twist it at the ends, put it on a sheet pan, cook it off for about 40 minutes at 350. Once it's cooked to about 120, you pull the paper off and crisp up the bacon in the oven, and,
Yeah.
and there you go. You just have your cocoon of meatloaf. Here we go. We got the finished product right here.
That's nice.
I'm gonna get this guy and put him to the side. What I have made already was a sour cream and herb mashed potato with our herbs from the garden. We have flat leaf Italian parsley, some thyme, chives, and a little bit of rosemary. And with this, all you want to do is just pull the rosemary right off the stem. Rosemary's a little strong, so you don't want too much rosemary.
Right.
Get your flat leaf parsley.
So are y'all growing herbs yet in the greenhouse?
Yes.
Yes.
We have about 15 different kinds of herbs. We have mint, basil, different kinds of basil, thyme, 2 types of parsley, rosemary, chives, cilantro,
Yeah.
tarragon,
Yeah.
you name it, it's there. We
Yeah.
also got some vegetables growing. These are thumbelina carrots that came out of the garden that we'll be serving with the meatloaf too.
That's cool.
Those are cool little guys right here. Like I said, I have some potatoes already done. We're gonna plate this meatloaf up, get her cut, and you guys will be eating some bacon wrapped prime meatloaf here in a couple minutes.
Awesome.
We're gonna cut this end off. Oh yeah. There we go. We'll finish it off with our tomato jam. The more the merrier.
Yes.
And voila, there you go, bacon wrapped
Yay.
meatloaf.
Thank you so much.
That is so good. Man, it's hard for you to imagine, having not gone with us this morning, the destruction we saw. I mean, just a few miles away, just absolute rape and pillage of the earth, just,
Yes.
you know, up to even into the 1970s.
Yep.
That close to an area where you've got a tribe, specifically the Quapaws, that are here. They're raising their own food. They're trying to reclaim the land, restore the land. And it's just, I don't know, it's amazing to me, sort of the contrast between where we were as a state years ago and what's going on now. My hat's off to them.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're good folks.
Good food.
Good times.
Good times. Well, that wraps up another episode of The Land Doctors. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information on this and other episodes, please go to landdoctors.com.
And like us on Facebook.
Leroy, I thought I told you to stay in the truck.
I need the Oklahoma wind to run open through my veins. I need the Indian grass to cut right through these long and lonesome days homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. I hear the scissor tail calling me from the redbud trees. I hear the top water roar in the still of the day as the bass enjoy their feast homeward bound. I'm homeward bound. Whoa, I recognize that front porch light from a mile away. Whoa, this is a place that for all my life I have longed to stay, where I want to stay.
This program is sponsored in part by the Oklahoma Energy Resources Board. The OERB is voluntarily funded by Oklahoma's oil and natural gas producers and royalty owners, and their funds are being used for well site restoration and student education all across the state. Since 1993, the OERB has restored more than 13,000 orphaned and abandoned well sites at no cost to landowners or taxpayers, employing Oklahoma contractors all along the way. The OERB is proud to serve the state of Oklahoma.